Macroing has broken Beeswarm Simulator. Just take a look at my inventory. I don't think it's intended to have 4000 enzymes.
Macroing in Beeswarm has been around for the past 3 years, but it has only gotten popular and considered as normal last Beesmas. This is mainly due to Blue Hive players and Buoyant Bee being added. Macros replicated casual grinding and filled up the balloons enough to be an efficient source of honey. You also don't have to be playing actively. This means that you can be making a good amount of honey while you're sleeping or at school. Macroing isn't all just about honey though. You're able to get resources such as stingers, fruits, tickets, and snowflakes during Beesmas without ever needing to touch your keyboard. This is the main reason macros were used before, as making honey with macros was inefficient. Until last Beesmas, this is when macroing was a good way to make trillions of honey every day without putting in the effort yourself. For Blue Hives, before Buoyant Bee was added, you'd make very little to what you'd normally make in a casual boost. This is why people who macroed earlier than last Beesmas only did bug runs for items. Macroing meant that you could now remotely get stacked on items without having to actually play the game. This meant that red hives now didn't have to do vicious bee hunting as they'd get the stingers overnight. This is unfair to anyone who cannot macro, as they may not have enough resources to boost as often as people who do macro. Also, all 5 nectars are impossible to get all at once, as your planters won't grow when you leave the game. This means that people who macro 24/7 will have all 5 nectars, while people who don't macro may have very little nectar as they don't have something maintaining it for them. This ruined the game, as it's just impossible to compete with players who macro. The game can be basically completed through just macroing, as you'll get all the necessary items and honey to craft gear from macroing. You'd have to only do quests every once in a while and add bees to your hive. That's not how the game was intended to work, but it is now possible to become an endgame player with 90% of playtime spent away from your device. It's impossible to get on the all-time leaderboard without macroing, as every single one of those players actively macro, which means they always have nectar and the resources to boost without having to manually get them. If you're on the leaderboard and stop macroing, you'll simply be knocked off, as it's impossible to compete with people who always have max nectar and resources to boost. If macroing wasn't allowed, the leaderboards wouldn't be so high, and the game would overall be more balanced. However, it is also a good thing for the activity of the game, as the game can consistently have 10,000 plus players, and people feel the need to leave their macros on, which means that this number of players will not go below 10,000. If you just miss one day of macroing, all of your nectar will be gone. This is why the number of players is so high, as people don't want to lose nectar. A good blue hive can get around 50 trillion a day from macroing and doing nothing, while a red hive needs to boost every day. This isn't very fair.
That's my whole opinion on macros, to be honest. Like, yeah, they kind of negatively impacted the game in terms of how easy it is to get to the top of leaderboards and stuff. You just need to macro, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna be it for the video. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and make sure to comment down below an idea of like what you want to see on this channel.